Welcome back to Bumblebee. Here are the top 10 messed up experiments in history that changed everything. Let's do this. Animals, spiders, we got some robots. It's gonna be a good time. Number 10, spider art. I have to start our list off with NASA's 1995 spider tests. I was always afraid of spiders growing up, and once I heard about this, it kind of helped out. So I don't know, maybe I'll help you as well. When nature meets science, we often get jarring results, be it hybrid animals, clones, you name it. Spiders, as fascinating as they already are, can be even more mysterious, believe it or not, especially when they're exposed to mind-altering illicit substances. NASA wanted to determine the toxicity between these substances and what differences they may look like in use. So spiders, being as fascinating as they are, we can see how they think and survive with their webs. We see it up close, when we accidentally walk through them and we go, ew. But we never see them like this, right? Caffeinated behavior is all over the place, right? It doesn't even look like a normal web at all. But with hallucinogens, it's the same shape, but it's almost missing steps. I don't think any animal should have coffee. I don't think an espresso goes well with a bug. Or a human, really. Number 9, the turkey fake-out. This next one here is pretty funny, I had to include it. Back in the 1960s, turkey biologists in Pennsylvania thought, what if a male turkey was in a room with a fake turkey? What would happen, right? Would he try and flirt, right? Let's see what happens. Would he I Am Legend this fake turkey and just continue on living like everything's normal? Yes, turns out the answer is yes. These male turkeys would actually try and mate with the fake turkey, but by the end of the tests, they just had a head of a turkey on a stick. A fake turkey also, that'd be horrible. But these dudes still came out like, hey, what's going on, you single? Even though it was a stick with a photo of a turkey. These guys had no idea. How funny is that? They were just slowly taking away parts of a real turkey, and these dudes were coming out still with the same game plan, with the same keys to the VIP plan to get with that turkey, even though it's a broom. Number 8, Zorse. It's a fun one to say, let's do it. Zorse, it's a great word, Zorse. Male zebra, female horse. Now we get a really fun word, the Zorse. Sounds like a god, Thor, Odin, and Zorse. Zebroids are also quite common historically. See, Charles Darwin even noted some in his early work. So since the 19th century, crossbreeding zebras with horses or donkeys, it's all been done. More often than not, and this is what makes them stand out, zebroids will experience dwarfism. Yeah, they're quite cute, I can't lie. In 2010, a zedonk was born, a zebra donkey. But again, back in the 70s, 3 were born in Colchester Zoo. Yeah, way back then. Probably forgot about that. These zookeepers were like, how do we make the zoos new and hip? Oh, I have an idea. Yeah, bizarre. Humans aren't too smart. Let's stop mixing animal DNA. We get pretty jarring results all the time, I think. Number 7, inner armor. All right, let's change it up a little bit, shall we? DARPA's Inner Armor Project. This was the Pentagon's way of creating super soldiers. Yeah, and Marvel Phase 5 or whatever, couldn't be a better time to bring this out. Scientists use animals as a reference for these new abilities, like literally from a Marvel movie. They're studying the DNA of the stellar sea lion because it can reduce blood flow away from organs if need be in order to reduce oxygen demand to survive. Yeah, that's like a superpower. We gotta figure that out. That would be sweet. Just Aquaman with a tactical vest? Okay, sure, let's do it. Dr. Michael Callahan, who is in charge of running the operation, says that the goal is to make soldiers kill-proof against disease, chemical weapons, radioactive weapons, harsh weather conditions, you name it, all that stuff. Now, this was back in 2007, and then later in 2014, Barack Obama just came out of nowhere and announced that the United States is working on building Iron Man. Yeah, apparently that wasn't a joke. Number 6, the Milgram Experiment. All right, we gotta turn it up a little bit, shall we? While learning about our past in further detail, like the Trinity test, for example, and how that led to the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it's important to understand why these things happened and how people like the Germans were so easily influenced into doing what they did. So the Milgram Experiment was put in place to start getting some ideas, right? How far will people go when it comes to obeying instructions, specifically if it involves a third party being hurt? Stanley Milgram, Yale psychologist, he created this test, and there's 3 important roles for this one. There's the teacher, the experimenter, and the learner. The learner is disguised as the main test subject, but they're really in on the whole thing. The real subject is actually the teacher, the one administering pain to the test subject. Yeah, they're told by this higher figure, whatever, to keep upping the pain every time they get a question wrong. So the real test is to see how far humans will go when hurting others. The icing on this experiment, of course, is that the subject isn't actually getting shocked at all. These tests were underway in 1961 in a basement at Yale University. Imagine taking the wrong turn on your way to class, you end up here. It's terrible. Number 5, go pills. Okay, look out, 5-hour energy. We're pulling an all-nighter for this one. Every time I watch Lord of the Rings, I fall asleep. I can't help it. It's a lovely film, but it's so cozy. The music, just tucks me in, and I'm gone. Also, it's like 4.5 hours, so, it's not my fault. But that's not an issue in the real world, is it? No. Overnight truck drivers struggling to stay awake to pay the bills, that's a bit more important, I'd say. And that's where go pills were supposed to come into play. The pill that keeps you up for 40 hours straight. Yeah, doesn't that sound like a nightmare? What the hell? The US Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, again, DARPA, is currently funding this pill. The benefits it would have, I gotta say, if this thing works, I'm kinda on board, honestly. I can finally play 50 turns and a single round of Mario Party without having to sleep in between. It can finally be done. Or Monopoly. I could do 1 round of Monopoly, finally. Number 4, chimpanzee human. Also referred to as a Humanzee. Sounds awfully terrifying right off the bat. Look, here are the facts, people. We are very close to chimpanzees. Around 98% of our DNA is shared with that of a chimpanzee. That's why we look awfully familiar with our hands and beautiful eyes. Back in the 1920s, we got closer than ever. A Humanzee was not just a fantasy. Soviet biologist Ilya Ivanov inseminated female chimps with DNA, but it didn't work. Or did it? See, things got questionable when a chimp named Oliver hit the scene later in the 70s. He was walking like a human, referred to as the missing link because of his appearance. Yeah, he was previously a performance animal. He was a show chimp, so not a hybrid, but many viewed these experiments as immoral back in the day. Which is odd because I remember seeing chimps in family movies. I remember seeing like Most Extreme Primate, where he's doing like skateboard tricks, or he's like snowboarding all of a sudden. Air Bud as well. I don't know. What made these animals do all these sports? You know what I mean? Number 9, lions. Back in the 80s at the Chatbir Zoo in India, they started an experimental program where they would breed together a domestic lion, which is a bit smaller and has a less shaggy mane, with an African lion in the hopes that they could, be introduced into the wild and help with the dwindling population of wild lions in India. Sounds like a great plan on paper. Sure, here we go. That's a step forward. But is it? No. The zoo found 2 African lions that were being used in a circus and then brought them in to breed with their 2 Asiatic lions. Now, when the cubs were born, it was clear that this was already a grave mistake, as the cubs already had severely weak back legs. They couldn't even walk. They were having extreme trouble walking, and as they got older, their immune systems started to fail. And by 2000, they had bred more than 70 of these hybrid lions, and they finally decided to stop the program, and all the males were given vasectomies in order to stop any further reproduction ever. Thing is, there are laws that prohibited them from killing animals, so they were simply just waiting around for them to die off naturally. Yeah, when there's a dwindling population of lions, it's insane to me that they wasted 20 years trying to do this when they could have just simply bred lions that they had. I don't know. Number 2. Pyrenean Ibex. The Pyrenean Ibex also went extinct, now this time much sooner than mammoths. Actually around 2000, period. Not 2,000 years ago, like 2000 the year. Yeah, the last one was a female named Celia, and a falling tree sadly killed her. Of all the ways to go, really? That's just brutal. A subspecies of the Spanish ibex, the Pyrenean ibex, were native to the Pyrenees Mountains on the border of Spain and France. Now, back in the medieval ages, their population was reduced drastically to an endangered level. Knights and swords equals lunch. We now have lunch. So the numbers dipped, okay? More than fair. We got armies to feed, yada yada. But in 2009, science was ready for the Pyrenean ibex to return. Okay, that's a little odd. It was successfully cloned and brought back from extinction for 7 minutes. DNA from the last living lady was implanted in the womb of a domestic goat. Lung complications are why the clone ultimately didn't survive, but we had a hybrid medieval animal back for 7 minutes. We're getting close. To what? Not really sure, but we're getting close to something. And finally, number 1. The Kunga. Perhaps the earliest example of human-animal hybrid testing ever. Scientists recently learned about this donkey hybrid that once roamed ancient Mesopotamia. Now, this was a time before even horses were on this land, right? This was a long time ago. So they had to do something. Large Kungas would pull wagons, and smaller ones would help pull plows. These little guys were the talk of the town. Imagine a hybrid animal before horses. No wonder they were a status symbol. Let's go. 4,000 years ago, they were given as gifts for weddings. Yummy. I wonder if this is a Kunga. Smells like a Kunga. After so long, scientists are finally able to figure out what exactly a Kunga was a hybrid of. It was a female donkey and a male Syrian wild ass. Yeah, just a wild hybrid ass. It's pretty insane what you can still learn from ancient animal bones even from thousands of years ago. It's fascinating. More amazing how involved this hybrid was in Mesopotamian culture. I don't know, should we bring back the Kunga? Imagine seeing this thing in a farm, just pulling something. I've been your host, Taylor McWaters. Thanks for sticking around. Those are the top 10 messed up experiments in history that changed everything. We'll see you next time on Bumblebee. Bye.